Step in my dojo, you step in my dojo, you step in my.
Hey, Spiderhound here, and today my guest is Alex Smith, also known as Sharrol Kelby, who's been with Producer Dojo for 3 years, and his new driving school EP is releasing on November 26th, which is a unique blend of progressive bass music, and it has earned Alec his black belt. Congratulations, Alec. Welcome. How are you?
I am great. I am great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And, I before we start things, I have to congratulate you on your wedding, your recent wedding.
Thank you. Thank you. A lot of
Big,
good stuff going on right now.
yeah,
So,
big life changes. That's awesome.
yeah,
So, how was the wedding and honeymoon?
it was awesome. So, yeah, the wedding went really well. Had a great time. Had honestly like a pretty sweet sound system and ended up throwing down some dubstep and stuff like that at the wedding. So, the older crowd wasn't a huge fan, but all of our friends loved it. So that was cool. Honeymoon was awesome. Also, I mean, we capped it off with going to EDC Las Vegas. And that was our first time, and it was amazing. So,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
fun
So,
stuff.
so how does your new wife feel about your dedication to music production? Like, is it tough to balance being a newlywed and dedicating time to music production, because they're both time consuming pursuits?
Yes, definitely. I mean, yeah, you have to spend time with, your loved ones comes first. And then, I also work full time. So basically, I just wake up about 3 hours or so before I start the work day. So about 5:30 a.m. And that's pretty much my time to, work on music. And then, weekends. I'm not able to every weekend, and Sunday is usually my day to just kind of chill and get my mind right. But
Right.
but yeah, I mean, uh, when you love it, you make it work, and I found that carving out time in the morning is actually when I'm most productive. So it works. And as far as her, with yeah, she's extremely supportive with my whole music thing. She does most of my art. She's designed my logo. She designed the cover for the EP. She does my visuals for streams and is going to start VJing for me
That's awesome.
during live sets. Yeah, and she actually, I mean, when I was early in my early days producing before I joined the dojo, I had the dojo on my mind, and it's a commitment to, especially when you put that first like foot in the door. Um, and I kept talking about it, and eventually she just convinced me. She's like, "You got to do it. Like ill.gates is the guy. You always talk about him, and did so much with your favorite artists and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Okay." So she was part of the reason why I joined the dojo as well.
That's amazing. That's so cool. And that's great that you found the right balance, because actually, like, the first thing in the morning is the smartest thing to do, because before the world taps your creativity, you're basically dedicating your waking moments to being creative. So like your art gets like the best of your brain.
Absolutely.
So it's so cool. Like you get in there 5:30 for a couple hours, and then I like it too. Like how like there's a there's a window on it. So you get in there, you do it, then you close it, you go on with your day. That's a really healthy way to approach it, and doing it the first thing is really great, because um, I've been in the other situation where like I would save my production till the end of the night,
Hmm.
and it's the worst, because like your whole day has been, your creativity has been tapped like all
Yep.
day, and
Yep.
then like you've only got like the dregs left for your art, and it sucks.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
not the way to go. So that's so cool, man. So are you still based in Washington, DC, or have you moved?
Yeah, I'm right outside of DC in Northern Virginia. So the actual town I live in is called Leesburg, Virginia. But yeah, I'm about 45 minutes from DC, so not far.
Cool. So then that's probably like where you like do you like to gig in DC a lot or
Yeah, DC and Baltimore are the, closest places. I mean, Baltimore is about an hour 15 away too. So
that's not
they have a
bad.
good scene up there too.
That's cool. So there's good bass music scenes in both Baltimore and DC.
Yeah, I mean DC, it's growing at a pretty fast rate. Uh, a few years ago, after I graduated college, it was kind of weak. Like we would mainly get big, more big names like with the major promo companies and stuff. But some of my peers are doing some really cool things and throwing shows like every couple weeks with awesome artists and awesome venues, like great vibes, none of the, crazy out of control crowd really.
That's good.
And yeah, it's been really great and I'm really excited for the future of this scene here too.
Oh, that's so cool. Um, yeah, that's really wicked. That there's people putting on good shows that attract the right crowds and stuff like that. That makes all the difference, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So like in terms of when you perform in Baltimore versus when you perform in DC, like do you have do you have better experiences in one over the other? Like do you like prefer the shows that you have in the DC area or like are the Baltimore shows like more exciting? Like because I noticed like depending on where you play, it's like it's a different kind of vibe. And
Mm-hmm.
some places are like amazing and like others are
Yeah.
just kind of like, middle of the road or whatever.
Yeah. Well, the venues I've played in Baltimore are just a lot different. Like the one venue that I've played at a couple times, the 8x10, it's like this old house almost, and it's kind of small, has a balcony, but it's kind of got like some old, wood vibes with like some kind of dive-ish bar thing. But the place kicks ass. I mean, they get really good artists, good sound system, and it's always a riot. Like
Cool.
there, the crowd's always awesome there too. And then in DC, for instance, like the two main places I've played, one is Soundcheck, which is run by Steve's Promo, which is the biggest company, and that it's a solid venue. Um, yeah, I mean, I've had good experiences there personally playing. Sometimes it gets overpacked for big headliners and stuff, but uh, yeah, the crowd's usually decent there. But the other place that they've been throwing a lot of bass shows lately used to pretty much only be techno and house, and yeah, they started throwing some bass shows there, and it's like closed room, no phones, function one sound
Ooh.
system. Yeah, and they have a rooftop with like retractable roof, and that place kicks ass. I mean, that's my favorite venue for sure. It's called Flash.
Function one, nice.
Yeah.
So how do they handle this phone? What do they have lock boxes for the phones or something like that?
No, I mean you carry your phones, but if you start recording in the main room, a security guy will just come and tell you to put
Gotcha.
it
So they
away.
so the
Yeah,
rule is don't take out your phone. So if you take it out, then they'll deal with you if you take it out.
exactly.
Gotcha. Like yeah, like so some shows they have these like lockers or lock boxes, and like you have to like check your phone into like a lock box or whatever until you get it at the end of the show.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't experienced that yet, but it sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, because then literally like no one could cheat, right? Like no one could like
Yeah.
take
Uh
out
huh.
and sneak a picture in or something like that. Well, cool. Well, tell us about your journey from white belt to black belt. So like you've been with British Dojo for 3 years. So what are some of your favorite moments along the journey from white belt to black belt?
All right. So the ill methodology really kickstarted everything and was, like that's the first thing you gotta watch. Once you watch that, you'll be like, all right, I'm ready. Boom, and you'll just kind of, it's just really inspired me and also helped me, you know, I guess, be organized, like in life, be organized. And when you're doing something like working a full-time job, you know, have a relationship, all that stuff, and then you want to take on music production and be serious about it, you know, you really need some guidance on how to balance it, how to properly, you know, utilize your time while you're producing, um, and make goals for yourself, of course. So, and you know, that, yeah, like I said, I mean, that just really you know, kicked everything off and was definitely what I needed to start taking this to the next level. Um, you know, once I watched that, you know, I started getting acquainted with some of the senses, like uh, Dustin, aka Hexus. He was my go-to at first for a while. He helped me finish my first EP that I actually already was working on before I got to the dojo. But, and you know, it was decent. Like, it had good ideas in there, but it just needed that extra level. And for what I was doing before, I was in Somatics Academy FM, which
Right.
was okay to get started. You know, no hate towards it, but they were all on demand videos, and it was pretty much just like how to do this, how to do that. Um, the approach with the dojo is just really unique, and I think it's what a lot of people who start producing need. And you know, a lot of people give up because they don't have direction, and the dojo really provides that. So yeah, I mean, after that, just, you know, taking lessons, watching the weekly download, learning new concepts, getting track feedback. You know, mentoring sessions are another thing. I don't know how I could I definitely couldn't be at the, you know, here and happy with my music at this point without the mentor sessions. You
Right.
know, someone telling you, and even like stuff like getting gigs and marketing yourself, you know, just things that you almost, you know, you may think of, but you don't at first when you're getting involved with production. Like, you know, that, you know, mentor sessions really help with all that. They just, you know, if you could ask them any question, and
Right.
having face-to-face interaction with a real human being allows you to, you know, open up and get those questions answered. So um yeah, so from there, I mean, you know, I finished that EP. Uh, Dustin helped me a lot with that. Then next level, got my first gig and set up my. He also helped me set up my Ableton Live DJ template.
Nice.
And yeah, so
Wait,
I got
so
my first. Sorry, go ahead.
so sorry to interrupt. But
No.
so do you still use the Ableton template live, or are you on CDJs now?
Yeah, I still use the Ableton template.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. I
cool.
just it's changed over time and evolved. You know, as I've learned more about Ableton and also played gigs. Um, but yeah, and then my first gig ever was opening for Shades, which was
Ooh.
awesome. You know, one of
First
my
king opening for
favorite.
Shades.
Yeah, EPROM's one of my favorite artists.
Holy
So
cow.
that was crazy, and yeah, it was
How did you
funny.
how did you nail that one?
Oh man, I mean, I got kind of lucky. My one of my friends just knew the talent buyer at Steve's Promo, and they were looking for an opener, and I said, "Hey," I contacted her. She said, "You're perfect." Boom.
Heck
And then
yeah.
after that, you know, she helped out a lot. I got to open up for Saruda,
Nice.
Buku, Essex, a lot of
Oh.
good artists there. Yeah, for
Oh.
sure. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love all that. That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. That must have been a really good experience opening for all those guys.
Yeah, and actually, so the first time, so when I did open for Shades, my first show, I went play, and I was nervous as hell. Obviously, not only is it my first show, but EPROM is right behind me, and I'm like, all right, don't look like an idiot. So I go to plug in my stuff. Of course, I can't get any sound coming out
Oh,
into the mixer. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? And I just, I'm about to start playing. I'm like, turn to EPROM. I'm like, hey, I know you use Ableton for your live performance. Like, can you just help me out, get some sound? He just changed up a couple things. It was just something simple
Right.
because I was nervous. I
Right.
couldn't think straight.
Right.
And EPROM got it working for me. And then I played my set, and EPROM listened to it for a while.
What a cool dude. What a cool dude.
So it was quite the first experience, but I'll never forget it for sure.
That's so awesome. EPROM coming through on the tech support.
Yeah, man.
That's so cool. Oh my God. So just EPROM, he does Ableton live, right? Like when he's playing live. Yeah.
Yeah, he actually uses a really similar setup as I do. We both have the Akai MPD 232, and we both just plug into the house mixer, whatever the DJM is.
Right. Cool. Cool. Well, that's awesome, man. That's so you opened for Buku as well. I love Buku, like all his stuff that he's doing. Did you get to meet him and hang with him too and stuff?
Yeah, I didn't really get to hang with him, but I did get to meet him, and I talked to Frequency for a little bit.
Nice.
The lineup was me, Frequency, Essex, and Buku.
Damn.
So it was a solid night for sure.
Really cool. Sweet. So all right, so you played some amazing shows, and then what about green belts and red belts and brown belts? And
yeah, so the next significant part of this would be when I actually went to the dojo for a week and spent some time with ill.gates
in LA.
And that was such an awesome experience. If anyone is watching this, like, I highly recommend it. I mean, I was making decent music before. Like, a lot of people liked it, but my workflow wasn't what it was until after that. Just, it's a hard pill to swallow at first when someone comes up to you and is basically like, forget all of this. This is how you're doing things. This is how you're doing things now.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, this is gonna be tough. But after a couple days of just kind of swallowing my pride and getting through it and focusing on the techniques that he was teaching us, I was just churning out music so much faster and just so much more organically, So, that was really, honestly, like, life-changing as far as being a musician. Being in a boot camp and just literally focusing on it for 7 days and having someone, the ill.gates being right there, basically giving you feedback, teaching you techniques, watching him do his timer beats every day. It was just really cool getting to mess with like all these synthesizers and stuff and really getting to figure out like what I like what is my sound, what sound do I want to go after, how do I do it. And I've had a push 2 forever, and I used it before. I used it a lot before, but being there, man, I learned everything about that instrument. Like it's my most used, piece of hardware by far now. So, yeah, that trip was awesome. Also got to connect with some other producers, and it was just badass. And Dylan's family is awesome.
Yeah.
His dogs are really cute, and the studio was awesome too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and Nunik is so nice.
Yeah, she is. She's awesome and is a really good cook too.
Oh yeah. Totally.
She makes some awesome food.
Well, Dylan cook for you while you were there?
He didn't. I don't know when he started picking up the cooking, but he did not cook while we were there.
Yeah, no, he's been like cooking for a long time. It's just it probably just the opportunity didn't arise for him to like break off time and do it. But he's
Yeah.
an amazing
Yeah,
chef.
I see his pictures, they look insane.
Yeah,
Ellie and I are both always like, what the hell? Like how do we eat this stuff?
yeah, totally. And that was in LA, right?
Yep, that
That
was
was
in
the LA
LA.
dojo. Yeah. Yeah, so the in-person visits are game changing because like it's just being in the same room with him and like looking over his shoulder and stuff. It's like a PhD.
Yeah,
Totally.
seriously, man. I mean, pressure always makes you better,
Yeah.
you know? It does. But okay, so in order to get my green belt, I guess, so I was doing, I had to do the arrangement exercises there, and that's something I didn't do before. Uh, and another thing, like I'll just be honest, like I just felt like, oh yeah, I've been studying music for, at that point it would have been, we'll just say 20 years, and I just thought, oh, I know how what song structures look like, blah blah blah, and then I did them and I realized, wow, I should have done these before.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, it doesn't matter who you are, like
Right.
when you're writing electronic music or just getting familiar or whatever. I mean, practice makes perfect. Number one, number two. I mean, those exercises were designed, and they say the reason why you have to do them in order to get the green belt is because they freaking work,
Right.
right? So yeah, that's when I got my green belt, was after that, and then after that, I finally submitted my first cipher and got accepted onto the cipher, and that sent me to my, what belt would that be after
So
that?
red belt.
Red belt.
Right.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So, and that was Terracotta Soldier with Munchie, which actually just came
Ah, which
out
actually
last
turned,
month.
yeah. So then that's that. So it was like a red slash brown belt. This is double
Yeah.
whammy.
Yeah. It took a while for it to come out,
Yeah.
because just a bunch of random reasons, but it really was from the beginning of, I think, 2020 is when we actually finished the song.
Right.
So yeah, so it took a while, but yeah, that was the first one. Got accepted on that cipher, so leveled up. And then earlier this year, I think it was earlier, yeah, way earlier this year, Dylan hit me up, said, hey, do you want to release an EP on the Dojo label? I said, fuck yeah. And got working on it, and here we are. And yeah, I mean, this has been a goal for me since before I even joined the dojo. I remember like looking, knowing about the dojo, knowing about, ill.gates, and that they have a label and all that stuff. And I was like, I want to release on ill.gates label. Like,
Yeah.
that would be freaking awesome. And that was before I even joined. So now that it's actually happening, it's very satisfying and very exciting as
So
well.
yeah, it feels so good when you finally when you finally get that
Yeah,
EP
for
done.
sure. They took 3+ years,
Yeah.
man. I mean, you got to be patient, but it'll happen if you
Yeah,
just
totally.
keep your head down.
Yeah, and it's always better in the end. Like Dylan really pushes you to do the best, right? So and that means like, undoing stuff, deleting stuff, starting over, lots of edits and back and forth. But the end product is always better. It's always it's always better.
Yep.
Definitely. So can you talk about like the major challenges that you've overcome over 3 years, and how did you overcome them?
Yes. Let's see. Well, producing itself and writing music is a challenge.
Mm,
Being satisfied with your music is a challenge. Learning when to stop messing with a song that you're not sure if it's done or not, what plagued me for a while. And then, some of the dojo teachings tell you basically, when you get to a point, just make a list and just go through that list and don't go crazy. outside of it. Like, of course, there's a, you know, maybe a couple things that may come up, but you know, sticking to that list, like when you listen to your tune again and you write it down in your notes and say, okay, this, and this, you've already listened to it. So what you have right there is all you need to do, pretty much, right? So that's what I do. And I'm religious with that method now. It helps me finish songs way faster. So that was a challenge. Another challenge that I came into, I guess, let me think. I mean, putting this EP together was a challenge.
Yeah.
It took me over a year to finish. You know, and you need to get, you know, the great thing about the Dojo and releasing on the Dojo label is not only is it a great platform for artists to get their music out and just, you know, host music and even more with the marketplace and all that, but, you know, the dojo and the people working in the dojo, like you, give amazing feedback and also won't let anything that isn't, you know, up to par by. And you know, that helps you as a producer because you learn things along the way. And you know, for instance, this EP, I mean, every song is a different genre. So the first one's halftime, second one is like left field bass, like dubstep, trap, or whatever you want to call it. Third is drum and bass, and then the fourth is like kind of down tempo. Um, and
It's so
that, you
cool.
know,
I
that's,
really, yeah, I really love the variety. I love that. That's so cool.
yeah. I just have too much music ADD, I feel like, and
Yeah,
I
me too.
can't, you know, yeah, it's hard for me to write the same kind of stuff like over and over again. So this is just how it happens. Um, but yeah, so that was challenging because, you know, every genre has its own techniques, really. And, you know, you have to, you know, when you're doing the dojo releases, like Dylan and you and your mentor or whoever, you know, they want it to be the best of the best. So I had to learn different techniques for each song rather than just making, you know, 4 dubstep tracks and applying the same techniques to each track. So that took a little bit longer,
Cool.
but in the long run, I mean, what I want to do is make different styles of music because I like playing them in my sets and I just like all kinds of music. So, although that took a while and there was a lot of back and forth, especially on the drum and bass tune,
Yeah.
yeah, a
Dylan's really
lot of
tough
back
on
and
drum and
forth.
bass. He's really
Well,
tough.
you know, it's funny. The timing is funny because like at the same exact time, like Dylan just be happened to be like going full steam ahead with a bunch of drum and bass,
Yeah.
and you know it's great because even he probably learned more by making all those tunes at the time. And you know, I saw him on Twitter talking to like DC Breaks and people like that who are like, you know, legends. And he's basically like, look, the drum and bass guys in Europe, like, if you play this, they're gonna put their nose up at it, you know.
Right.
So he helped me get it to a point that was definitely, you know, made a lot more sense. And you don't realize it when you know when you're making a tune that's in another genre, like the arrangement and everything was cool, but it just how, you know, different techniques, mixing techniques, especially sound processing. I mean, progression, um, fills, like flow, all that kind of stuff. Uh, you don't, you know, it sounds good because you're like, oh man, I made this tune in this genre. It's awesome. And then, you know, he goes and he pointed out a bunch of stuff that needed to change. And then after you make the changes, you realize, oh, this sounds more like a drum and bass tune. Like the rolling fast shakers, the percussion that kind of takes over more than sits back. Like that was one of the issues.
Right.
You know, because it's kind of a roller, but a melodic one. And with rollers, you know, I didn't really think. I kind of had the bass taking over a lot of it, and not so much the drums. But the drums really need to be in front.
Right.
So yeah, that was a lot of back and forth. But honestly, I learned so many techniques, and like I love drum and bass, so I can't wait to make more.
Well,
And
it also
actually know what I'm doing.
like Dylan's newest revelation, the role that high frequencies play in drum and bass, and
Yeah.
how and to make sure that the high frequencies aren't dynamic, like they're pinned, and also not harsh at the same time, because they add the it's funny on the weekly download, you know, adding energy to your drum and bass. I think that's what it's called. It's high energy drum and bass production, something like that. But he started the weekly download by showing his old drum and bass tunes, and he's like listen to this car, and he's like playing his old drum and bass tunes, and then comparing it to like his new drum and bass tunes, and like the big difference was the old tunes didn't have that high frequency energy in it, and then the new ones do, because like the modern drum and bass, it's all about the, you know, the consistent high frequencies, not dynamic high, but the pinned like high frequency content. Did he talk about that when he was working?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was probably the biggest thing
Yeah.
in the tune, was trying to balance that. And you know, it's hard to when you get to that point in a tune, like when you're getting towards the end, to accept that you need to like take something out of it. Like for instance, the basses. I mean, the basses had kind of a cool like filter, you know, release on them that made them open up. Uh, but I needed to cut a lot of the highs out on the basses. So those high frequency like hats and percussion, and I had like some crazy triangle percussion pattern in there, so they could shine through, and it did. It made a huge difference. I mean, you know, you got to always think about, especially with electronic music and dance music, like you got to think about how it would be received on the dance floor, and at the end of the day, I mean, that after those changes, like it's way more danceable, and people will actually be, you know, going to it. So
Yeah, because the high energy is what gets the crowd crazy. Like
yeah,
that's cool. But yeah, so you know, just to go back to, you know, how you started the conversation, the importance of arrangement, the arrangement exercise, because especially if you're going to be doing multi-genre, like if you're going to be a multi-genre producer, you have to do the arrangement exercise, because you have to learn like what's the playing field, what are the elements that they use in this game, right, in this subgenre, right, and then that's what the arrangement exercise help you do. It helps you dissect it, be like, oh, I get it, these are the ingredients that are used in this subgenre, and then same with the next subgenre, next anytime like I'm trying to delve into a new subgenre that I haven't produced before, before I even attempt it, like you have to do arrangement exercises.
yeah, absolutely,
Definitely. Yeah, but multi-genre is awesome. Like I consider myself multi-genre too, because like I just don't have the patience to just. I get bored if I just have to do like one thing, you know, like kind of like to explore different genres as well, but which adds to the complexity, because there's different mixing approaches for each subgenre, and there's different ingredients and everything. Basically, like everything changes from subgenre to subgenre.
Yep.
So I know this is going to be a hard question, but do you have a favorite song on the EP?
So I like them all for different reasons. So I guess I'll just go and talk about a couple of them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, So Far Away, which is the title of the drum and bass tune, was probably the most satisfying to make, because it was the first time I ever used a vocalist, instead of just samples, or an acapella or whatever.
Mm.
So that was really fun. Working with the vocalist, her name's Little Lion. She's awesome, and once you hear the track, you'll hear her voice is really good, and she also produces. So basically, what she did is she recorded herself. We did a few sessions. She just kind of put down some lyrics and recorded them with the track. Then she put some processing on it, sent the recordings over with the processing chains so I can make adjustments. And then basically what I did is I just went and chopped up all like throughout the track, throughout her recordings, chopped up different sections and rearranged them and how I wanted it to sound in the tune. And then once I had like a few different good parts that I liked in specific places, I kind of dissected it further and made it more into like a musical arrangement with like an intro, a chorus. Had to figure out what the hook was gonna be, and it's funny, like it happened to be like it doesn't sound like it in the song, but it was part of a phrase, and I just cut like part of that phrase out and made it the hook. So like so far away, when she says hold me from so far away, like there were a bunch of words before that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like it.
Totally.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun, and I just really like her, her singing and all that stuff. So yeah, that might be my favorite, but a producer's favorite isn't always the crowd favorite. Boomerang is probably going to be, well, Dylan's been playing on his tour also, and he said it's been getting the best response on the dance floor, and I could definitely see why. I mean, it's kind of like a fun banger. Like, I actually did a lesson with ill.gates beforehand and learned some techniques from him during the pandemic because we were just inside and he was doing lessons. I was like, sure, I love ill.gates, and learned some cool stuff from him, and then applied it to that tune and kind of ended up being popping. And I also made it with Hubach, who's also in the dojo. So yeah, I mean, that was a good one. And then Drive, so the first song on the EP, that's also one of my favorites just because it kind of like goes through a huge progression. I mean, it kind of changes a lot as the tune goes on, but
Yeah.
I keep the same like this glitchy kind of modular synth sounding uh, melody from the intro. Like it shows up and disappears and shows up throughout the tune, even though like the bass style changes and stuff. And I just kind of like on that tune, I kind of like geeked out a little bit because I learned all these new techniques. And I was just like, all right, I'm going to apply them all in this song, So it's like kind of a geeky song for me, but
I love
it's
that
a lot
tune.
of fun to make, and it makes me like kind of proud of myself for implementing some new techniques that I didn't know before. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's I love that tune. It's really cool. Um, so do you have you mentioned, weekly download was a big part of your learning. Like, do you have some favorite weekly downloads?
So the 3D mixing one was really good. That actually helped me finish So Far Away, the drum and bass tune.
Oh, cool.
Because as you know, there's a lot of back and forth, but he recommended that, and I think as soon as I watched it and kind of figured out what was going on with that, changed some of the processing, especially with the drums. Just little things that, I have Neutron also, which he recommended in that. So yeah, it just made everything pop. Like in the weekly download, he shows one of his tunes before and then after, and it just makes it sound like so much more professional, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like you think of the artists that just have crazy sounding music like G Jones and Excision and stuff like that. Like regardless of whether you like them or not, their music just really comes through the speakers insane.
Yeah.
And you always wonder, especially as an up and coming or a producer that's learning, why does my music not, like, what are they doing to get those, make their music just sound like that? And honestly, the 3D mixing weekly download really helps it get a step closer. So
I gotta watch that one again. It's been a while since I watched that
yeah,
one.
yeah. So that's a good one. I mean, oh, another one that I loved was oh man, what was it? I can't remember what it was called, but he goes through like all the drum patterns for different genres, like
Yeah,
dubstep, rhythm, trap, halftime, drum and bass, jungle, house, and techno, and
totally.
makes yeah, and I've found that to be extremely helpful because again, multi-genre, right? Like if
Was
you
that
want
the
to
one?
try different
Was that the one called Escalations? Like,
I can't remember off the top of my head.
or maybe it's in the Basic Bitch Boot Camp. Um,
It, what was it? I think it was a two-part series
those are
actually.
two-part series.
Yeah,
Oh, could be Rhythm Guide.
I think that might be it.
Rhythm Guide. Then there's polyrhythm, like making polyrhythm. It might be that because I think he goes over different genres in the Rhythm Guide.
Okay.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, and of course, you can download what he made after. So you have the drum racks and then the actual MIDI patterns of the drums and some of the processing, and yeah, I mean it's just a great starting point if you're trying to make something new,
Yeah,
for sure.
total. There's super helpful. And there's so many, like you can't just watch them once because
Yeah, no
there's so
way.
much information in them. Like so
Hmm.
I find myself like rewatching them. But my favorite friend is Double Speed. Watching them on two times
Oh
speed.
yeah, same, same. Yep, yep.
You just like go through it like twice as fast.
Uh-huh.
But, but yeah, like the weekly download is so cool because it's like each week I make it a point to tune in, and it's like it's like depending on how my week was, like that's like a guaranteed carved out time for me to like learn something new, right?
Yep, yep.
Some weeks I get to learn more new things than others, but definitely the weekly download is a great and then like I love like when I'm watching a weekly download, like, oh my god, this is so good, I gotta watch this again.
Uh-huh.
It's like the information's coming by so fast.
Yeah.
But so what are some creative ways that you approach songwriting these days? Like do you do blank slate, follow the rabbit, follow the white rabbit, or maybe from an arrangement exercise, or like what are some, you get up at 5:30, you come into the studio, like what are some of your favorite ways of starting?
So right now, my favorite thing that I've been doing is just getting started making a ton of mud pies. Bass, I mean, even percussion, melodies, just sound effects. And it gets my brain kind of jogging. Unless I'm already have my samples ready and I'm sitting down and I'm about to ready to track. But for experimenting and getting ideas and just making beats, having fun and learning along the way. Yeah, do some quick sound design. I mean, have like having some racks that are your go-tos, but uh I guess a rack system that allows you to still be creative and vary through your sounds versus just using the same ones over and over again. But yeah, I'll start with that. Just record a bunch of stuff, and then I'll throw it in my studio template, which is all organized and ready to go. And
Nice.
I have my drum 128s and all that stuff, so that way I can just get started. And whatever I'm feeling, I'll set the tempo to, or whatever I'm in the mood for, and then I'll go through the bases, just see what sounds cool, and kind of highlight different parts. Or there's a few methods you can do it. For whatever reason, I like highlighting stuff, and then throwing it into a drum pad. But yeah, I mean, there's tons of stuff you can do with that, and then just throwing down a beat with the pad, and kind of going from there, like just seeing where it takes me. Like, throwing down a beat with the pad is nice because it's, organic. It's really what you're feeling. But sometimes I'll use just audio, or at least just put in the MIDI, like if I'm making something with more of a, you know, repetitive pattern. But yeah, that's pretty much how I get started and how I get the creative juices flowing. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a good. It sounds like very similar to like the, Mr. Bill's approach. So like he talks about how he's a reactive producer, meaning like he just messes around with sounds until something inspires him, and then he starts working on a song. I find the same thing with myself. Like I'm a reactive producer. Like I don't go in saying like, oh, I'm gonna write X today. It's gonna be this genre and it's gonna go like this and the melody's gonna go like. I have no idea what the hell I'm gonna do. It's like I
Mm-hmm.
just start experimenting with sounds until something like tickles my ear. It's like, oh shoot, and then you got something like
Yeah,
something gets started and you just follow the wave.
yeah, yeah. I used to, have the other approach where I'd go in and like have a specific melody that I was gonna throw in and all that stuff. But I ended up liking after I kind of switched to reactive a little bit. I think I started liking the way my music sounded a little bit more.
Me too. Me too. It's more fun too, and it
Mm-hmm.
also leads to more organic or organic flow, because like when you go in with a preconceived notion, like what that's putting you into a position where you're trying to put like a round peg in a square hole, or a square peg in
Yeah,
a round hole, or something like it, because you're just
yep,
so obsessed with like, no, this is the melody. Like it's
yeah,
got to be this, and then you're just closed off to all the possibilities that are there.
yep,
Whereas
exactly.
the other way you're actually like open to all the possibilities, and like in the moment just reacting to what you feel and hear and stuff like that. And from my experience, it leads to more organic, unique sounding stuff that you tend to be proud of, because you're going on like what your ear finds interesting, and then that leads to your unique sound.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, totally. um so do you ever get writer's block, or um and if you do, like how do you deal with it?
Um. So yes and no. Yes, if I'm trying to finish a song and I don't know what to do next.
Yeah,
Um, because when you're doing that, you're kind of pigeonholed into how creative you can be in order to make sure that the song doesn't sound like so it makes you need it to make sense.
yeah,
So I get writer's block often then, and in order to combat it, honestly, just mess with shit like take a bass sample that I used in the first drop, stretch it out and throw
yeah.
a portal on it or thermal or something and just see what happens. And then, I'll like be like, oh, this sounds cool. And I'll just start putting it in different places. And then, you know, eventually like something clicks. And a lot
Yeah,
of times it won't happen that first session. or the session where I'm trying to do all that. And then I'll be like, okay, well, I have all this sound design. Like, I started doing some stuff, and for instance, we'll just say the second drop. And so, whatever. I'll just, like, leave it as is, and I'll come back to this tomorrow. And then the next day comes, I already have my sound design, already got started on something. You have a clear head, you haven't been working on music for hours.
Right.
And then, like, I'll just, boom, finish the song.
Yeah.
So... yeah,
clear head's so important. Like sometimes you just you reach your creative limit, and then it's like if you force yourself to stay there, you're just going to get diminished returns, right? Like, so, like, just being able to identify that and be like, look, I think I've hit a wall, I need to stop and get some sleep and try it again in the morning. Because like, just that happened to me last night. Like, I was just like, I was hitting a wall, I was tired, I was exhausted, and and I decided to go to sleep. And when I woke up, I felt great, and I was like, I couldn't wait to get in. And then all the ideas came, and it was what I was experiencing was just exhaustion. Like, it was like I was done, like, put a fork in me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just being able to identify that and realize, all right, it's time to stop.
yeah, definitely. You spend an hour and a half just moving stuff around. Like, what am I doing?
You're just wasting. You're totally wasting time. Like, you're not being productive at all. Like, I've lost so many hours of that. But like, so like, just being able to identify, like, okay, like, I've hit a wall. Like, it's time to step back and take a break and revisit it with a clear head, right?
Yeah,
definitely. It's important. So, like, do you notice, so when you think of, like, year one of the dojo compared to, like, where you are now, are there things that, like, you struggle with, like, in year one, that now you look back on it like, oh, it's such a piece of cake, like, I can't believe I ever struggled with that?
Everything. Literally everything.
Totally.
The most intimidating thing for me, I don't know why, it doesn't make any sense, because I've had a like a Yamaha motif, which is like a workstation synthesizer, and messed around with sounds on that, just like, playing around for years before I started producing. And then, for whatever reason, sound design and bass sound design was just so intimidating to me. And I just thought, like, oh my God, I have to add all these chains, I don't know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. And then I realized it's simple.
Right.
Like, it's so simple, really. Like, you don't need, dissecting presets is good, but you don't even need to, like, look at all those crazy wavetables. Just get a freaking sine wave and throw some distortion on it.
Right.
Filters, and boom, you have, like, a neuro bass,
Right.
So, like, we're all guilty of it, especially with producing. It's so easy to overthink things. But, yeah, I mean, I was overthinking sound design for a long time.
Me too.
And it really is simple.
Yeah.
You just have to learn that it's simple. And once you learn that it's simple, it becomes easy.
Right. I had the same issue.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought that, like, every time I tried to do sound design, I felt like I didn't belong there. Like, you don't know what you're doing. Like, but then I started realizing that, like, all the producers that I admired, the way they approached sound design was totally random, creative exploration. Like Mr. Bill, like, he just twists knot, like, he just experiment. And then once I realized that the producers that I respect and admire, that's how they approach sound design, I was like, oh, that's the legitimate way to do sound design. You just have fun and experiment and twist knot. The trick is, like, don't be afraid of breaking something. Like, like, I remember I'd be so afraid, like, oh, I don't know what this knob, like, I don't know. So who cares?
Exactly.
Twist it, break it.
Yeah,
like,
just do it.
Like...
I'd be like, oh my God. I remember first watching, like, sound design tutorials, and, like, literally pausing the video to make sure I had the the metric perfectly on whatever the guy was doing on here. Like it has to be 1.97 decibels. Okay, now next thing.
Total, I would
Like,
do the same thing, dude. I did the
oh
same thing.
God.
It's ridiculous because, like, you
Yeah.
see, like, in most of those, they're like, yeah, you put it on, like, you do it up like 6 dB, and you notice that they actually do it on like 6.8 dB, but then they don't adjust it because, like, it doesn't
Matter.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
It
Like,
doesn't matter.
but I was watching it too. I was like, oh wait, like, what's the exact
Yeah.
setting he's got there? Like, he's just like,
Yeah, he's just twisting it. And like, you think, oh man, there's a reason why it's at 6.8 dB.
Yeah.
Like I better not go over that or it's going to sound like shit.
Totally.
You know? Yeah, so once you get over that, it helps a lot.
Seriously, like the second I discovered that, sound design became easy because, like, I didn't feel like I was like an imposter, like because I realized it's like the people that I look up to, they don't know what they're doing. They're just randomly exploring and having fun and twisting knobs. And the second I lifted that fear from me, like the sound design started getting better, and then I started enjoying it. And yeah, that's a thing. That's a real thing that I think a lot of people suffer from.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I guess like if I had any advice for my past self, I'd just be like, just mess with stuff and record all of it.
Yeah.
And, work with it. Maybe you'll come up with something cool from something that's, you just get in such a, like a, whole thinking like, oh, it has to sound this way or it has to sound that way. But, we love electronic music because of everything you can do. It's just, when you're learning, that just happens, I guess. But, yeah. Funny stuff.
Yeah, that's that was a big learning point for me as well. The whole the whole sound design thing. But like, yeah, like the second you realize how easy it is, and same with mixing too. Like I was overcomplicating mixing, and the second like I took the Seth Drake course, I realized I was just overcomplicating. I was overcomplicating stuff, and like all the things that I didn't question were the things that were holding me back. Like, oh, you can never do this and you can never do that. But why? Just go baloney. Like it's out the window, right?
Yeah.
That's when like my mixes started getting better.
Yeah, definitely. Same thing. And before before the dojo, I mean like I didn't even realize how important leveling was. Like
Right.
I would just start mixing because I mean it didn't really go over it in the somatics thing, like leveling. And then I mean that's like 80%
Yeah.
there.
Nobody
you get the levels right and you're like, oh well, now it sounds good.
Yeah, nobody ever went over that. Like, and I worked in studios and stuff like that. Nobody ever like shared a leveling formula, but like Dylan shared a leveling formula with me. This was before like the dojo existed, and like it was so helpful because like I was like, oh, and now like I don't need a formula. Like I just use my ear, and like to be honest, like the formula doesn't work for me now, but it was very helpful.
Yeah.
When you got nothing, like you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
The formula is very helpful just to get you in line with the Fletcher Munson curve, right?
Yeah.
And then you don't need the formula at all. Once you get comfortable with it. But yeah, that formula, like it's what it's like? It's like training wheels on a bike. It's like the leveling formula and like the white noise mixing is like the training wheels. Until like your ears get used to how everything's supposed to sit, and then you don't need the training wheels anymore, and then you're just riding, and it just becomes more intuitive.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally. So like did you struggle with mixing as well, or did it come pretty easy to you?
Yeah, mixing, same thing. I mean, You know, it's just one of those things, especially when you listen to something over and over and over again, you kind of go a little stir crazy and
Yeah.
you don't know what sounds right or not.
Right.
So, so yeah, I mean, mixing was a challenge, for sure. I mean, like having the dojo feedback for mixing was so important. Like, you know, I never had too many issues with arrangement. Like that was definitely my strong point uh, at the start, just because I've been familiar with you know, writing music not in Ableton, but like as a pianist and stuff. But yeah, I mean, having the mix feedback is just essential, you know, because you go on there. I mean, it's intimidating. There's so many different plugins in Ableton. If you're not familiar with them, you're like, oh my god, like I have to learn all this stuff, and really, like, you don't need to have everything on there. But you
No.
think when you're mixing, you're like, oh, the compressor does this. Oh, saturator does this. Okay, you know, this does this. I need to put all of them on every single chain.
Yeah, totally, totally.
Because, like, it sounds, when you're, you know, again, another reason why the dojo is awesome, like, you know, just YouTube tutorials or whatever, you know, they'll just tell you that they, you know, they're good on, you know, if you're making a kick, like, oh, you can use it on a kick for this. But they say that for, like, everything. So it's not like when you should use it on a kick, it's you can, and it makes it seem like you need to in order for it to sound better, which isn't true.
Right. Yeah, totally. Like early mixing courses, like before I met Dylan, they basically had you know, they're like, oh, every single track, like you put this on every single track, and it was like they were just like processing the life out of the
Mm-hmm.
track. And then I realized like less is more, right? So like it's actually the opposite. Is like if you can get away with putting nothing on a track, I look at that as a win,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereas before it was like years before, like I was over processing everything, and that's no good either. So it's like not just reaching for a tool, like so Dylan helped me by saying that like leveling is like 80% of mixing, right? And he said like also the thing to know is like 80% of the problems are solved with leveling. So like here's how to problem solve. You have a problem. Okay, level. Bring the level down, bring the level up. Did it solve the problem? No. Okay, now let me think about which tool should I reach for to solve this problem, because the level's not fixing it. But like
Yeah.
80% of the problems get solved by just bringing the level down or bringing the level up.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that doesn't solve the problem, it's like, okay, is it an EQ issue? Is it a wave shaper? Is it a compressor? Like, how is it? Like, what's the tool that I need to be grabbing for to solve this problem?
Yeah. And sometimes it's just a sample. Like, I mean, for
Right.
Terracotta Soldier, for instance, the track 4, the one the collab with Munchie, um, that one, I mean, we used Mad Zach samples because I was part of the cipher,
Yeah.
and we didn't really have to do much mixing because the samples were like
Right.
perfect, and it
Yeah.
made things so much easier. And you know, at first you kind of question yourself. You're like, okay, I feel like I need to add more, but if you, but then, you know, with the proper guidance, you realize that you don't. So
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. It feels like, oh, it's my job. I need to throw a shitload of plugins on this thing.
yeah. Otherwise, everyone will think I'm stupid.
Yeah, it's like if you can get away with no plugins, that's a win. That's a because Dylan explained to me that like when you add a plugin, you're solving one problem, but you're causing another problem. So be careful when you're grabbing for tools, because like yeah, you're solving a problem, but you're also creating a problem.
Yeah.
So then it just becomes like, yeah, I'm okay with the problem that I'm creating, or I'm not okay with the problem I'm creating.
Hmm.
But it's a trade-off. So if you can get away without processing anything, that's a win really, because like you're not creating any new problems.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So how was it collabing with Munchie?
It was awesome. I mean, we finished that song in no time, and it was a song that neither of us like have really dabbled in that style before, like the chill down tempo type stuff. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I kind of put the first little beat together, the first section, and I honestly just loaded up the pad with drums and samples from the pack, and it kind of rearranged the samples and made my own to make it a little bit more distinct rather than just like the preset loops that are on the in
Right.
the pack, for instance. Um, but yeah, threw that down, sent to him. He added some awesome stuff, just back and forth like a few times. And honestly, the progression was so easy. We got it done so fast, and we loved the outcome of the track. Um, yeah, it's just a cool track, and it has a cool progression. And Munchie makes bangers. I
Yeah.
mainly make like heavier stuff. But that song is just like, it's good for chill songs. It's hard to it can be hard to lose listener engagement because they are more chill. Um, but I think with that one, you know, it constantly evolves, so it helps keep the listener's attention.
Yeah. And it's also like I think, chill songs are really important for sets, right? Because like if you just go banger after banger after banger, it's like at some point, like, the crowd loses context, right? Because it's just like everything's loud all the time, and then and then nothing's loud, right?
Yeah.
So like if you inject like a chill out song into there, it like brings everything, like resets the palette, resets their ear, and then you can bring the energy up again.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah, agreed. And not saying that bangers can't be like soulful, but generally down tempo you can pour a little bit more emotion into them.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, that's why I really love down creating down tempo, because it really stirs my emotions, and it really resonates with me, and it's like I find it's more like creatively satisfying, because it's just like anything that can like make you feel something, like make you feel strong emotion, like that's usually like the type of music I gravitate to.
Yeah.
It's just really cool. um So do you ever like check out YouTube for any production tutorials? And if so, like, do you have any recommendations, like any YouTube channels that you could recommend?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do sometimes. It really depends, but so I mean, Ahi has a lot of good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, he has a lot of good stuff. I mean, the span trick that a lot, I feel like every producer that's been producing for 3+ years knows the span trick with the oh, what does he do? I'm blanking out right now, but it's called the best mixing advice you'll ever
yeah.
get.
Like he analyzed all like the top electronic music songs, and
Yeah,
they
with
had the
the
yeah,
yeah,
they had like
yep,
the
yep,
similar EQ curve where it's like, the bass is really loud, and then it has a dip around, like, in the mud zone,
yep,
and then the highs are as loud as the lows, and all like he just analyzed track after track, and they all shared that same profile, so
yep,
which is super helpful
exactly.
when mixing.
Yeah, I mean that trick works so well. It just again, it's like the next step, or like one of the next steps to get your stuff sounding like the pros. And when you're at that point as a producer, you're like, why is their stuff so crisp? Why is the bass so loud? Like, why doesn't mine sound like that? Like, what are they doing? And that was a huge like aha moment. So you're like, oh, if I just cut this out,
Right.
like try to make some space there, it gives the other sides more room, and the crispiness obviously isn't happening in the mud.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and you know, there's no bass or no good bass coming out of there. So, you know, it's another thing. It's like, wow, that's so simple, but it just makes so much sense.
Yeah, totally. That I love that one as well. He's got a lot of great ones. And
Yeah.
his favorite way to put it, because I had the pleasure to interview him. I asked him, like, you know, what's your favorite way to create a song from scratch, and it's the arrangement exercise. That's
Oh,
his.
really?
Yeah,
Cool.
that's what he does. Like he'll grab a track that he's in love with and then just deconstruct it. You know, he'll get the drum, like he'll kind of like emulate the drum beat and stuff like that, um and then just mute it and take it from there and then like make it his own. But he starts with arrangement exercises, like his favorite way to produce.
Cool.
Yeah, which is important because I think you know, I meet a lot of students who they kind of they think the arrangement exercise is a beginner exercise. So like they think it's something like, oh yeah, I did that. I did an arrangement exercise. Like
Yeah,
sure. I've been there, done that. I don't need to do it again. It's like, no, you don't understand. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It's like you continue doing arrangement exercise.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's how I thought when I was at the dojo. I was like, I'm not a beginner. Like, I don't know if I need to do this.
Right. But then you
know,
hear like Dylan does them all the time. And
yeah,
Ahi does them, Mr. Bill. Like
yeah.
I do them all the time.
Yeah, it's just funny. Like, I mean, you know, it doesn't matter who. Sometimes your ego just gets in front of you.
Totally,
and you're
totally.
Like, you know, but then you realize you're like, it's good to have moments like that, though.
It
realizing that you're wrong, especially you know when credible people are trying to tell you something.
Right. Yeah, white belt mind is so important. And you mentioned that like that was a big part of your learning, like when you visited the dojo. Like it's the especially somebody who's been doing music for 20 years, right? Like you're kind of like set in your ways. You feel like, you know, I'm not new on the block. I've been doing this for 20 years. And then when somebody points out that, like, you know what, you could be doing the fundamentals a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
Just having an open mind about that and being like, you know what, holy crap, yeah, I really do.
Yeah.
So like the ego has to go out the window, or else you won't grow. Like you'll just remain in a plateau.
Yeah, for sure.
So you mentioned Portal and Thermal. Are those your favorite VSTs at the moment, or do you have others that you're stoked about?
Yeah, I mean, I like all the output stuff. I
Yeah,
have
me
the
too.
old bundle. Yeah.
Do you have the arcade? Do you have the arcade?
I do not. I have a free trial for it though that I still haven't used, but I would like to. It seems pretty cool.
Yeah. Everybody's raving about it. I haven't gotten it yet. I think that's the next thing I buy from Output. I think will be arcade.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been really just pleased with all their stuff. I mean, you know, they're like their analog strings. I can't remember the name of the VST that it's like a combination of I think strings and synthesizers, and it's just like a really cool hybrid type of sound. Love using that and just getting really cool. You know, you can make like crazy sounding plucks out of it that, you know, it's so nice. It gives you the, you know, great like punch or, you know, warmth of a synthesizer, but also that organic, like natural sound of an instrument. It's like such a great combination. And yeah, I mean, Thermal and Portal get used like pretty much. I don't know about every day, but a lot.
With me, it's every day. Those are my favorite. Like all the time.
I mean, when in doubt, just like throw one of those on, you know, and like just go through the presets, be like, meh. And then you're like, oh, wow, that's all I had to do. Sounds crazy, like nothing else I've ever heard. And then you're on to the next thing.
Yeah, because it's a huge time saver, Porter, because like if you were to build like just one of their presets, if you were to build that from scratch, it's like 10 different plugins, right?
Yeah.
So it'd take you like a half hour to build that rack. but here it's just like boop, boop.
Yeah,
You just go.
exactly. Yeah, and there's enough you can do in it to make it so,
It's unique. It's unique.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And you
Right.
can throw them on anything. Like
Right.
it doesn't matter. Like even if your a preset says like, guitar, who cares? Throw it on
Right.
percussion and see what happens.
Or vocals or anything
Yeah.
like. Yeah, I put it on everything, and I don't limit it to the category, right? Like you said, like if it's made for bass, who cares? Let's try it on a let's try it on this. Let's try it on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That definitely helps with when you get blocked. Like just take out Portal with Thermal and just start like doing mud pies or something. It's like, and then you're like not blocked anymore.
Yeah. The only thing is sometimes I end up like duplicating, a few different, just duplicating like say a track with basses on it, and just putting on, trying different sounds and like being like, okay, I like this one. And sometimes I like so many of them that I'm just like, oh my god, I don't know what I
Right.
should go with.
Yeah,
But that's a good problem to have.
yeah, I have the same problem, but it's not a problem. Like I just so I used to stress out about deciding which one makes the cut. And now I'm just like unmute, like I mute everything, right? And then I just unmute it, and it's like, does it work? Okay, great. Like, does it not work? All right, let's try another one. So like, I found that like the other way, like when everything's not muted, then now you have to decide, like, oh well, which one am I gonna do? When everything's muted and you unmute something, does it work? Yeah, okay, I'm done, right? So
Yeah.
it makes the decision making process easier because now you don't have to choose between 12 things. Like the one that you unmuted is fine.
Yeah.
I found that to be really helpful because yeah, it's the decision, like having to make all those decisions can be stressful if you stress out about it,
Yeah. For sure.
because you always think like, oh, this is dope, but maybe I can find something better.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a problem we all face. Now, that's
Oh,
something I don't think I could ever break. Is like maybe I could make this sound, but then as long as eventually you're like, okay, what am I doing? Then you just delete a couple things and you're
yeah,
good to go. But
totally.
playing with sounds is just so much fun.
It is. It is. I love it. Yeah, just I have to stop myself from going down rabbit holes sometimes, and then what's great when you when you do like a first draft of something and you let it sit for like 2 weeks without listening to it,
Mm-hmm.
because then when you listen to it, like you can actually have like a truly objective opinion of it, because and like I find that like anything that's subpar or not working just leaps out at you,
Yeah.
whereas like if it was the next day, you're too close to it, so you're not going to be able to notice those things. But like you let something sit for like 2 weeks and then listen back to it, it's like all the mistakes just come blaring out at you, and it's like, oh, I got to get rid of that, oh, I got to change that, oh, I got
Yeah.
time is definitely an important thing, which can be tough like if you're working on deadline.
Yeah. Well, deadlines. The good thing about deadlines, though, is they really do make you just, you know, say, all right, I'm rolling with this and moving to the next thing.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I mean, a lot of producers I talk to say, like, give me a deadline. Like, if I'm collabing with someone, they're like, give me a deadline or I'm never going to finish it.
Yeah,
Like, all right.
it's so important, right? Because
Yeah.
if you don't, you'll just go on forever without getting to it. Yeah, deadlines are important. And they do help you from going down the rabbit hole. Like this Goon remix, because it was such a tight deadline. Like I wasn't like stressing out over like all the different sound choices and stuff like that. I was just like, no, I'm going with this. I'm going, like, I don't have time.
Mhm.
Like let's just go with this.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
you
why
know,
ciphers are great. I mean, like, for anyone who, wants to kind of like just nail out a song, even if you don't make it, like, you put yourself in that position and you realize, like, honestly, a lot of the time you make your best music in the fastest, in the shortest time.
Agreed.
So yeah, so those are great too, because you realize what you can do in that amount of time and that you don't really need forever. And the timer beats, did a lot of those at the dojo.
Yeah.
Also changed my workflow and changed my mentality completely. So yeah.
Yeah, the timer beats are awesome because they give you this like innate sense of time. Um, like when you do like hundreds of them, right?
Yeah.
Then you get to a point where like you don't need the timer anymore because you've just taken on the timer, like you've internalized it. So like like when you're fiddling with something a little bit too long because like you feel you feel the timer and it's like it just forces you to like not go down rabbit holes and not spend too long on things.
Yeah, exactly. Like, all right, this is what I'm rolling with. And sometimes honestly, like there were a couple timer beats I made that I ended up just being like, okay, I like these ideas for songs, and then just rolling with them.
Totally.
So
yeah, because like if it's a vibe, like you can catch a vibe really quickly, and if it's a vibe, then it could be a release. But if it's not, oh well, it was just my timer beat.
Yeah, you spent 5 minutes on it. Big deal.
Who cares, right?
Yeah.
It's like I look at it like it's like going to the gym. It's like going to the producer gym. It's like, all right, I went to the gym, right?
Yeah.
Because like when you go to the gym, like you don't get anything out of it, right? Like it's just like, oh, I'm one day closer to being in peak physical condition.
Yeah.
But so I know you had some live shows recently that were really cool. Do you have any coming up?
I do, but the info hasn't been released yet.
Got it.
I can't mention it yet.
Top
but
secret.
yes, I do, and it's in December. So
oh, nice.
If anyone watching this, keep your eyes peeled.
Cool.
It's gonna be a good one.
Oh, awesome. Is it like New Year's Eve or?
No, it's in the middle of December, but it's at a really good venue, and the headliner is awesome. One of my favorite artists currently.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, I'll keep my eyes peeled for that one. And is it close to where you are now, or are you going to be traveling? Okay.
In DC.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let me know when it's official.
Absolutely. I'll probably post about 50 times.
Cool.
I'm not afraid to get the word out.
Cool. And what about creating products? Do you like the process of creating products to sell, or is it not something that you prefer music production?
I mean, honestly, like with working full time right now, and yeah, I mean, it's pretty like my job is kind of like time wise pretty demanding, so it doesn't really make sense for me to make a ton of products. But I am excited I think I'm gonna end up going with some racks, because over the course of 3 years I've made a ton of stuff that's been really helpful for me, and I think other people will find them helpful as well. So yeah, I'm actually kind of excited to do this for the first time and see if other people, find them useful as well. But yeah, I mean, like, besides that, like with products, I mean, merch, I guess, is like the only thing that I've ever really done, which I'm wearing one of the new
nice dude
shirts right now. This is a driving school.
That looks awesome.
It's called. Thanks. But yeah, so but yeah, and merch, I like the merch too, because people wear them at your shows and stuff. So it's good for someone like me who's trying to show promoters that, like, I'll bring people to the show when people are actually rocking my merch and they're like, oh man, there's like, 6 people with Sharrol Kelby shirts on. Like, we didn't even know that this guy had this many fans. That actually has been said, not recently, but a while ago. I had like 8 friends come in with Sharrol Kelby shirts, and they were like, wow, we didn't realize this guy had this many fans. It was like one of my Doors sets, like, God,
But that's awesome because it's like
plus years ago.
it's
But
like there's no hiding like who they're there to see, right? It's
exactly,
like
exactly. Yeah, great way to promote yourself.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So what's next for Sharrol Kelby in like 2022? I can't believe I'm saying 2022. It's
I
nutty.
know, it's crazy,
The
man. This
hell
past
is
2 years just flew by.
did
But yeah, gonna start like playing a lot of shows in 2022. Um, 2021 was a lot about writing a bunch of music, finishing this EP, kind of getting a lot of back end stuff done, getting a lot of life stuff done. Getting married and all that. And yeah, I'm ready to just hit the ground running. Gonna hit up, get hooked up with a bunch of promoters and just try to gig it out for a while. I got my first festival already lined up, which is in March. Really pumped for that. Lineup hasn't been announced yet, so I can't say what it is yet.
you can't
But,
say which festival.
no, not yet. But
That's cool though.
actually,
Like
by the time when does this come out? This
it'll probably be December. Probably
Oh,
December.
okay. Well, the lineup will be out by then. So it's Wham Bam Festival, and it's a new festival. Um, yeah, it's a new festival. It's gonna be in North Carolina, but the headliners are awesome. Like Camp Bisco tier, Electric Forest tier headliners.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, real good stuff. So it's their first year doing it. I know the guys who are running it. They're local Virginia, DC people, and this is their first festival. But I mean, I'm really impressed with the way they're putting it together, and I can't believe honestly the headliners they got. I'm not gonna say who the headliners are yet,
Right.
but when it comes out, I mean, it's called Wham Bam, WHAM Bam. Definitely check it out, and I'll be playing there as well. So and that'll be
Awesome.
my first festival set ever.
Oh my God, yeah. I've never played festival yet, but I love festivals. They're so fun.
Yeah, they really are. They're just going to EDC was the first festival since pre-pandemic. I think it literally had been 2 years, which is unbelievable to think because I go to festivals all the time.
Right.
And we went to a bunch of shows. Well, not a bunch, but a few shows. Once things started to clear up, but then once we were at EDC, we almost forgot how like special festivals are and like
Right.
the energy and just everything. They're just really really cool. You know,
Yeah,
they're
it's
special
just
for
it's
sure.
like such a special moment that you get to share. Like, you look around, like some amazing artist is on, and you're all feeling it at the same time, and you look at each other, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
this
Uh
is
huh.
sick. It's just like you feel the shared experience happening, like everybody's vibing, and
Yeah.
it's just such an amazing feeling. That like I mean you got the opposite of that during the pandemic is like because we're all like boarded up and like in quarantine and away from each other, so like the shared experience, there was no shared experience.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's something really amazing about like just the like you could feel the vibe in the air. It's like
Yeah. It's crazy.
it's like
And like
electric.
yeah, and the feeling like when it goes from daytime to nighttime, and
Yeah.
it's just like it's like you're on a different planet. You know,
Yeah.
it's like what just happened. It just got dark, but it didn't just get dark. You
Right.
know?
Yeah, like we went into the next level universe or something like that.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And it's so cool. You just strike up conversations with total strangers, and like sometimes you can have a full conversation with somebody. They don't know your name, you don't know their name. You're just like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like you just start up in mid conversation with somebody, and it's like it's helpful and like respectful and like it's awesome. And then they go and like you never see them again. Like
yeah,
it's like everybody's there to have fun and enjoy themselves and unwind and stuff like that.
yeah.
So
it's super nice because, as you know, in the Northeast, everyone is pissed off all the time.
Right.
So at festivals, everyone is super happy. So
Yeah.
it's nice.
It's a nice breakaway from the day to day. It really
Yeah.
is. Totally. Well, cool, man. Well, I really appreciate your time today, and congratulations on your black belt. You've been a very dedicated dojo member, and sounds like you've had a great ride in 3 years, and you've learned so much along the way, and your music is like banging now, man. It's like, holy cow. Like I can't wait to see it on like a proper Function One system. That would be sick.
Well, hopefully soon, man. And thank you so much. I mean, that means a lot, especially coming from you. You know, I always look to you for feedback, and you've been a huge, huge part of it. And yeah, man, it's been awesome. And by the way, like, you're a really good interviewer.
Oh,
So I appreciate it. It make you easy to talk to. So,
oh, thank you. Thank
yeah.
you.
So I like doing this. I've really enjoyed it.
Cool. Yeah, no, I love this is my favorite part. It's like just getting to learn about people's experiences and you know what they've learned along the way, like and then you also learn like different production approaches and how they feel about things, and you know, just get tuned into a lot of things that I normally wouldn't, you know, which is cool. So that's nice. I guess I'm not too bad at interviewing that. So. Maybe I should start a podcast.
There you go.
Oh man. Well, cool. All right. So thank you for joining, everybody. You have to check out the driving school EP releasing on November 26th. And Alec, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sean.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
Step in my dojo, you step. Step in my dojo, you step in my